Yeah, I like it.
Well, it's quiet. I'm at my track, and I expected a quiet night where I could find a spot, and it didn't turn out that way. So,
Got to go in the
uh,
car.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that before, and the truck or the car is the best place to go sometimes to get quiet.
Yeah. Well, Jason did it once, and then he had people knocking at the window. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, I can't guarantee that won't happen here too. So,
Hey, that's all right. Whatever.
somebody comes to the shop and wants me, they're likely not to respect the fact that I'm sitting in the car. So
Yeah. So I'll be like, man, what's wrong with Chuck just hanging out in the car?
yeah, let me go over and see. Yeah.
So yeah, I told Gotti that we'd make sure that you could join okay and there's no problems, and then we could go live at the same time.
Yeah, which we already hit the live. Everything looks good, so I have it going.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, the picture's really good, so works great.
I guess then I'm live.
You're live. We're doing it live, everyone.
Well, yeah, thanks Chuck for joining us here on the podcast. And I think one thing that I think would be nice is maybe give us the correct pronunciation of your last name and what and how you got into RC.
Well, the last name is Kleinhagen, and let's see. I got into RC. I'm the kind of dad that refuses to buy my kids, even though they're adults, practical gifts. So my son was turning 22 at Christmas back in 2002, and I was stumped at what to do. And a new track had opened here in the Kansas City area, and a friend drug us to look at it. And I was in there about 5 minutes, and I knew what I was doing as a fun Christmas gift for both of us. And that's what we got started. I originally looked at doing it when he was younger in the 90s. And we had gone to a track here in Kansas City, and we were kind of overwhelmed. Nobody made an effort to see if we needed info or anything like that. So we kind of played around a little bit with a Kyosho Optima back then, but then lost interest. But then in 2002, since then, we've been in it pretty intensively. We went from him racing and me crewing to me trying to race along with him to owning a shop and tracks and having a lot of fun.
So on the addiction scale, you're pretty high.
Yeah. Well, my wife, I think, correctly accuses me of sort of doing going overboard no matter what it is I get involved in. So I guess I've probably proven her correct on that. I've also flunked retirement, which people tell me it's hard to do. I retired from the corporate world and then opened this place, and now work probably more hours than I did in the corporate world. So,
well, talk to us a little bit about that. What you did in the corporate world. I think that's kind of interesting, and just the fact that you got into RC, but you did a lot of other things, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm my basic degree, my bachelor's is in mechanical engineering, and kind of been a gearhead into some form of motorsports, at least as a fan. Pretty much my adult life, I did some Sports Car Club of America racing when I was younger, and I've done my son and I have done a number of full size race schools and things like that. We built a Lemons car, and so we kind of have that. And the engineering led me into the vehicle industry. First, the automotive industry at Ford, and then the commercial vehicle industry on the supplier side. And I moved from engineering into management, and was fortunate enough to find a situation where we put together a management team, and and built an international supplier of brake systems and components for commercial vehicles. Headquartered, the parent company was headquartered in Sweden, but that business, for the time that I was running it and building it, was headquartered here in the U.S. It's still actually has a large U.S. presence. So the largest part of its business is still in the U.S. So that kept me traveling around the world and exposed me to a whole lot of things. So it was a good time.
When you were engineering at Ford, was there any specific things that you could talk about there?
Not really. I mean, that was wow. That was in the mid '70s and early '70s and mid '70s, and during the first energy crisis, when gas station lines were long, and the industry suddenly discovered small cars, things like Pintos and Vegas and things of that nature. I worked on I mean, I was a young engineer at the time, and Ford had, in some ways, more engineers than they knew how to keep busy. So there were a lot of people typically on any project. It's not quite that way today, but I did some structural engineering work and actually some interior work. I actually did some work on the first generation of automatic seat belts, which were a nightmare, but I did a number of things there. And then, like I said, I went over to the supplier side, and we supplied commercial. I mean, first as an engineer at two different companies, ending up as head of engineering for them, and then and ended up at the last job with the Swedish company, and there we did everything from analog braking systems to the lining, the brake lining on the wheels.
So would you say that you kind of retired out of that job, or did you just kind of decide you were going to get out of it in general?
Well, as I said, the engineering side, I had an opportunity where American companies typically don't pluck people out of engineering and make them general managers.
Yeah.
But European companies, particularly Swedish companies, in my experience, place a lot more emphasis on engineering, and so they gave me an opportunity to move from engineering into general management, and then reached a point where we had gone from a small, I'm sorry, my family's outside waving at the car. I told you somebody would come up there.
That's all right.
Reached a point where we became the dominant business in this Swedish industrial group, and reached a point where frankly, the board of directors' idea on how it should be run and my idea on how it should be run no longer gelled. So they gave me an opportunity to essentially consult for them for several years as a exit from the real business, and I took that opportunity. And about that time, this track here in Kansas City that my son and I got started at went bankrupt, and I made what was both a really good and a really bad decision, and said, gee, I don't want to sit at home while I'm retired. Why not reopen this facility and do something that I have fun doing? I can't call it for a living, but as a way to spend my time. So
is it the place that you got into? Was it called Fast Lane then, or did you like set your own name and all that?
Yeah, no, it was Fast Lane Raceway and Hobby, and I was really clever, and I dropped the "and hobby" and called it Fast Lane Raceway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
There's that engineering coming in there, right?
yeah, well, it had some name recognition in the area, and it seemed a shame to not to take advantage of that. I knew the people that ran it. We became good friends, and they had no objections, and so it started from scratch as a separate business, not based on the assets of the old business because of the bankruptcy issues, but I did pirate their name. I stole that with pride. So
Yeah, I've always liked the name. I find it easy to remember, and doing what sometimes with us, we deal with a lot of different tracks we go to, and you're like, you know, um, cruising through, and yeah, I find it kind of one of the ones, and for whatever reason, I remember Fast Lane in Blue Springs, Missouri. I don't know why, but like, and maybe it's the blue part of it. I don't know, but I always tell people, I'm like, oh, we're gonna go over to that race in Blue Springs. It's like I'm a local.
there you
Sure.
go. Well, maybe we must have made a decent impression when you came, I guess. So,
Do I have the track up there? Is that correct?
oh yeah, that's let's see, that looks like our oval track. Our
There you
outdoor
go.
track. That's one of
Okay.
them. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
surface looks killer.
Well, we take some pride in our track prep. In fact, right now going on behind me, we have our outdoor 8-scale track being prepped. We start our annual Offroad Riot race tomorrow with practice. So we're doing final raking and prep on that right now. So
Yeah, so to give everybody a little bit of an idea of the layout there, and basically if you have the overhead view, you got the main indoor building, if you're looking at it from the top, and then you got the 8-scale track, and then you got what is the dirt oval there, right?
right. And in the indoor building, we have the indoor off-road and kind of an extension on the building that houses our carpet track.
So is it mostly a carpet oval do you use it for, or you use it for anything?
Carpet on road and oval.
Mm-hmm.
So we switch it during what I'll call the season, the cool months. During the summer, it doesn't get used much at all.
Yeah.
But during the cooler months, we switch it every week to oval for 2 days and on road for the rest of the week. So
so you mentioned that you got into the RC with your son, and what I forgot to ask you earlier, what classes you kind of picked up on, or which ones kind of hooked you in on the whole thing?
well, we got started as carpet oval racers.
Okay.
And and took that to excess by building our own chassis and stuff for a while, and then he has stayed pretty much as just a carpet oval racer, and I have proven that I am equally poor at all forms of racing that we do here. I probably do best if I only have to turn left. Next best is on road, where I only have to turn left and right. Then we add the third dimension of up and down, and I really look sad, but still have a good time doing it. So
yeah, and what I see a lot is there's quite a few videos and stuff out there of the outdoor track, doing the 8 scales. And, I know Jared comes out there quite a bit and does some running and tries to keep sharp in the 8 scale side of things, but that's more of a summer.
Yeah.
More of a summer item.
Yeah. It's typically, depending on the weather, we might get started as early as mid-April, and we may run to mid-October. But we're about to wind down our outdoor season, both oval and off-road, and then concentrate indoors.
Yeah, and we're doing an event there which is coming up in November.
Yep. Our 10th annual J Concepts Winter Indoor Shootout and Invitational. Appreciate your support for all 10 years here. It's typically our biggest event or second biggest event of the year. And we look forward to it every year. The format with combining a Reedy style invitational portion together with normal IFMAR qualifying and mains for the open classes it seems to have been a hit all these years. So
yeah, it's amazing that it's been 10 years already.
Yeah, time flies.
Talking about those couple of events a little bit, you said you got the Offroad Riot that's going on behind you. They're building and tweaking and getting it ready right now.
Yep. That's the Offroad Riot. We kind of do together with Mike Garrison of Boom RC. He promotes 2 events every year, one indoors, one outdoors at our facility. This year, this one's been like everybody in all industries and obviously in our industry as well. This has been a strange summer. This is normally a spring event that we kick off our outdoor season with, but because of the virus and restrictions on gatherings and such, at that time we pushed it out. We actually pushed it out to early September, and that got rained out. So we're now doing it this weekend. We'll have somewhere typically between 125 and 150 entries for it. It's a 3-day event. Practice Friday, qualifying Saturday, mains on Sunday. Mike is going to try something a little different this year. Instead of long single A mains and nitro, we're going to try shorter double A's, just to minimize the situation where, in my opinion, too often halfway through the long A main, there's only 2 or 3 people that still have any shot at being competitive because of any number of problems. Maybe with a couple of shorter A mains, we can keep more people competitive. Of course, the guys who are really great on fuel mileage and endurance don't particularly like that change, but we're going to give it a try. So
good. And so talk to us a little bit about the, we know you came into being the ROAR president, right?
Yep.
So like you said, or your wife said that you go all in, right?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I can't. I just don't seem to do anything in moderation, I guess.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, it's a big job. People don't realize what it's like to be in something like that.
Let's see. I've been on the executive committee for, how long has it? You say time flies, so it's at least, I think it's almost 8 years. Ooh, that's even longer than I thought. That I've been on the executive committee, and the previous president 2 years ago decided he wasn't going to run, and I thought we had some things going that and a little momentum built in some areas that we should continue on, and so I guess threw my hat in the ring and was fortunate enough to win the election, and it's been an honor to try to serve the racer community, RC racer community, these 2 years. It's my business background helps, but it's a whole lot different than a normal business. Jason and Gotti, I'm not sure, but about you, I have to apologize. I'm not sure about your background, but normally in business, you can motivate people with both a carrot and a stick. You can motivate them through encouraging and all of that on the carrot side, and there's the stick in terms of whether they get a raise or whether they even keep a job. The ROAR is, with the exception of the administrator who's paid, everyone else is a volunteer. So you don't get to use a stick at all. It's all about persuasion and motivation
Right.
to try to keep people on the same page and moving in the same direction, and hopefully getting things done. There's a good group of people that I'm working with, and I know.
No, we lost Chuck. He's coming back.
And you're balancing that with real world and a real job, that the volunteer activity seems to need attention at exactly the worst times for your real world, or for your real life, I guess you could say. So I appreciate the people who volunteer their time, because I know from my own experience, sometimes you need to provide that time when it's not terribly convenient for you. I spent a whole lot of time last summer on my phone in lines at Disney World with my grandchildren, texting and emailing on ROAR issues, because there was actually an international issue that came up on spec motors, and it's like, this is not the right time, guys. I'm supposed to be getting on this ride with the grandkids, but
about to get on Space Mountain.
Right. I think that's probably the biggest challenges is trying to balance the need on the volunteer side with what you do for a living, or what you're doing, as your normal activity. So I'm technically retired, but I'm spending 55 to 60 hours a week with Fast Lane. So
no, I mean, it's amazing, and that you're doing both and volunteering in that ROAR position.
Right.
I always go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I want to mention that everybody on the executive committee is in the same kind of situation, where they're balancing a real life, real full-time existence with or job with their ROAR responsibility. So I know sometimes members wish we could do things faster, but we're really working with limited resources, a group of part-time people. So,
and ROAR is a little difficult, because it seems like a lot of the events come up during the same months of the year. You guys are, you really only, you have one major event per year in each of the classes, which is for the ROAR national title, right?
Yep. Yes.
And over the years, still is the biggest race to win. It's the most prestigious here in the U.S. I think that's always the most excited the racers are when they win them, and they feel like it's the legitimate title.
Well, we hope so. I mean, I think while we hear a lot of complaints about technical inspection and our rules and stuff like that, I think when you look at across the spectrum of the events held in the U.S., we like to think, at least, that we have some of the toughest and most thorough tech inspection of any of those events, and so the racers know that they're competing on a level playing field, and I think that helps to with the prestige of winning the event. They know everybody had to bring their A game, and everybody had to follow the same rules and comply with those rules. And I'm not suggesting that at other events people aren't complying with the rules, but you kind of don't know. So,
yeah, I mean, for instance, we do a lot of events throughout the year, even a lot of our summer events here, and the way the schedules work, some they're going in other time slots, but
yeah,
there really is no. I mean, we just ran the Southern Nationals in Louisiana, a great event, big turnout, but there really is no rules. There's no technical inspection. We really go by the racers' honesty. You guys could run truggy fuel tanks out there and a number of things, but for the most part, we deal with a pretty good group of guys that keep their cars roar legal. And they say, hey, I'm going to run it like this regardless, because I know if we're having to run a roar nationals, I'm going to keep it the same.
yeah. I think, whether everybody inspects to the rules to enforce them or not, I think, as you say, the racers and the tracks or promoters all know the rules are there.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think that for most people, if you won by doing something you weren't supposed to win, you probably don't get the same satisfaction out of it as you do if you followed all the rules and managed to win. So those people, I think, do a pretty good job of policing themselves. There's some gray areas, and you'll always have. We're competing, we're competitors, we're always push the limits a little bit, and I think most of the issues that you come across year after year are not outright blatant attempts to cheat, but somebody trying to push at the edges a little bit, and you need the occasional event with some tech inspection to kind of push back against that at the edges, because I think if you don't push back, then everybody sees that movement at the edge, and then everybody tries to go a little bit further and a little bit further. So
the thing that I've been impressed with over the years at some of the ROAR events was, there's a lot of racers that when they go and talk to technical inspection, or they have a disagreement, or they get DQ'd, and how angry some of the racers do get at the people working there, how they really don't take it all that personally. Like, it's funny because they get upset, but at the same time, I see them, like, they kind of move on and they don't take it super personally. And they're just like, yeah, we know these guys are competitors and they're going to yell and scream at us. But at the end of the day, they'll calm down. And I've always been impressed that it still seems to go over pretty well. And the guys don't tend to take it all that personally.
Well, some years back before I joined the executive committee, ROAR adopted this approach of using a race management team, and you could make an argument that ROAR really rents the track for the event from the host track, and then ROAR provides a race director and an announcer and the tech inspection team and the rest of it to keep the event going. And one of the things that's done is, we've got now people doing those jobs on the race management team who've got a fair amount of experience doing it now. And so when a racer gets angry with them because they've been called out on a rule, or they've been called out for not taking their marshalling position when they were supposed to, or whatever, it's the guy on the race management team who's made that call. It's not the first time he's made it, and it's not the first time somebody's gotten angry with him. And I think that experience helps them kind of process it and take it all in stride a little bit more. Now those guys are all human, and it gets to them sometimes too. I can tell you that if I'm not at events, my phone is usually busy during the events, and the guys know they can call and vent to me, which is better than venting at the track. But
yeah,
so
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I think it's been pretty impressive watching some of that type of stuff and how it's kind of gone, and so I've definitely picked up on that.
Well, I
So
take your comments as a compliment. Thank you on behalf of Raceman.
just checking my microphone here. So talk to us about, is there any things that you can talk with about ROAR, about any upcoming changes? I know we've all talked a little bit. I don't know how public things are, but what, if there's anything you can say about upcoming things in the works?
Well, you mentioned, the 6 different War Nationals every year, and they're a main focus of our activities, along with rules and rule enforcement and product approvals and stuff like that, where product approvals are necessary. This has been a crazy year. It looks like we're going to run only 2 nationals. We've probably planned 8 or 10 of them, but because some of the ones we've postponed or canceled, we looked at alternatives and went through planning for them, and then it seemed every time we picked a spot, it became the new hot spot in the country, and we weren't certain we could go ahead and pull it off. So, but we're kind of always looking at ways to see if we can improve that experience for people. And over the years, our fuel nationals, and I'm not, we're technically not. This isn't ready for prime time, I guess you could say. So I hope anybody out there listening isn't going to try to zero in on anything I say here as casting concrete or nitpick at details. One of the problems I found with trying to do anything different is as soon as you start floating ideas and talking about them, you can count on a bunch of people trying to shoot holes in those ideas before you even get them fully worked out. So
Yeah.
and that's not unique to RC, but sometimes it feels like it's worse in RC. But we're kind of looking at some things. When I ran for president, I was asked a question in an interview about changing up nationals, and there were and are, I think, 2 main streams of thought around fuel off-road, which is our biggest event every year, and one was whether instead of a single event that should be a series, and another school of thought was should we go back to the way it was a whole bunch of years ago, where you have to qualify to race at nationals. A long time ago, you had to go through the regions and win a regional to go to the nationals.
I did
and lately, some people, I think you can fairly say, some people argue that getting in the fuel nationals has become a race to hit send on your computer and get registered before it gets sold out, rather than your entry being decided by your racing on the track. So doing a series is somewhat problematic given the number of big events there are every year and finding a spot for them. And in some ways, a series, I don't want to use, I will use a term. The series narrows the number of people who have a legitimate shot at winning a national title. Somebody's not going to have a great day. A Jared Tebow for his first time is going to have a tough time, ending up in the A main as he did, at his first national, kind of thing. You're not going to see that if you've got a series. So we are looking at whether we should introduce a form of qualifying to where you've got to qualify to be able to race for the national title. In conjunction with that, we're looking at, a lot of people have said, well, we've got 350 entries and they're all in 2 classes, buggy and truggy. So there's, you only crown two winners. Should there be something where, like Pros and Joes, Pro and Sportsman, and where people who don't have a hope of winning a national title against the top racers might still hold out hope of being number one, and I'll call it their class. So we're looking at both those things: qualifying to be able to race for the championship, and a non-championship buggy class and a non-championship truggy class, to where is the easiest way. I don't want to use terms like Sportsman Expert and Pro, because they've taken on different meanings at different commercial events. So I don't want to create confusion, but we'll talk in terms of, a group of people who qualify to be able to compete for the national championship on the basis of running a qualifying event prior to the national. And then, a kind of pool of people who are racing not in the championship bracket, but in a supporting bracket or something like that. And Jason, as you know, we've had some discussions with a number of the teams, the fuel teams, and suppliers around that. I think we're fairly close to putting something final together and actually soliciting proposals from some tracks and stuff for these qualifiers. I mean, as it stands now, we're thinking probably 4 qualifying events, and some number of people locked in based on the prior year championship. And you would go to a qualifying event. You would elect to run the championship class, or you would elect to run the supporting class. And if you finish high enough in the championship class, you're qualified to run the championship class at nationals. So I think, from our discussions, I mean, it would give more than that one track who hosts the nationals. It would give more than one track a year the opportunity to run a meaningful ROAR race, and we would disperse them geographically. So ROAR and some scaled down version of our support team would appear, around the country, and people would run those events under ROAR rules like we do nationals. So when they got to nationals, they wouldn't be surprised by what we check for and what rules they have to meet. But the devil's in the details. So getting all those details worked out is where we're at right now. So
I'd like it, but I would never qualify for the national.
You might, but you could, based on what he's saying, then you could just go in and run the other class.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are, I don't know how to split it in terms of proportions here, but we get a number of people who love the idea that it's all one class, and everybody's kind of racing one class when they go to fuel off-road, and then we got a number of people who go, well, gee, I mean, these guys have no hope of winning against the top 20 or 30 pros in the country. So why not do something where they get to win something? I mean, our answer to that historically has been, we give out trophies for all means. Instead of winning a trophy for Sportsman, you win a trophy for the E-Main, but you still go home with a trophy.
Or the T-Main, Jason.
Yeah.
Or it could be lower than the E, yes.
I'd be lower. I'd be way down there.
Well, if it were me racing fuel off-road, it would be how high do the letters go, and I'd be in that one. So
yeah, I mean, my friend Brad Relfs, he was racing in the 80s, and the first national he went to double mains. So it was like, the double, people joke about the double Z main. Well, there was actually like, double mains. Like there was more mains than there was alphabet.
Oh, right. Get the double A's, A, B, A, C, A. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of interesting. But he said he was pitting next to somebody there that his buddy was giving him a hard time, and because he had gotten last in like the last main, and his buddy was saying, he's like, "Man, that makes you the worst driver in the nation, man."
Right.
Right.
He could have responded, "Well, no, I'm only the worst driver who showed up." Not
Yeah, I'm the worst of everybody that's here. Let's get it
I
straight.
like it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, it was pretty funny stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to talk about the ROAR stuff. One other thing I was going to ask you before we switch back to Fast Lane was, ROAR is scheduled to do the next World Championships for 10 scale. Has there been any updates or things that maybe you can talk about there? And because they kind of bumped the schedule up, right?
Yeah, if Mar eventually made the decision frankly, that all of the blocks had recommended, which was just forget 2020 exists and move 2020 to 21 and 21 to 22. Just push everything out a year. We were looking for proposals for tracks to host the 2021 Worlds for 10 scale off-road during the COVID thing, and tracks would tell us, I don't know if I'm going to be in business next month. I can't make a proposal for a Worlds event in 2021 when I got no idea if I'm going to survive. So the 2021 Worlds that would have been in the U.S. Will for 10 scale will now be the 2022 World 10 scale Worlds here in the U.S. Okay. So and we had a couple interesting proposals that preliminary proposals from people before the whole COVID thing hit. That we'll go back and touch base with those people and revisit and see if they're what their situation is and if they're interested in going forward. I'll use this as a segue to say we're kind of doing, with the exception of carpet on-road nationals and the fuel on-road nationals, which we're running next week in Texas. The other nationals for this year are kind of just being pushed to next year. The tracks that we're going to host them this year, if they're able and still viable and able, we'll host them in 2021, and we should be in the process right now of putting together the information to ask for proposals for carpet on-road nationals and fuel on-road nationals for 2021. So, but the other tracks, 2021 should be the tracks that they were going to host them in 2020.
You know what? I get a question about, and this might be something you guys have talked about, is we haven't done a ROAR off-road nationals on carpet or astroturf yet. Have you guys talked about that at all, or gotten any proposals for doing a race on carpet or astroturf?
Yes, it's been talked about. I can say that at this point, that's probably all that's happened so far. Is it's been talked about. The carpet thing has really grown exponentially. I mean, if we were talking 2 years ago, we would say, well, we're still seeing how it's going to go and how much interest there's going to be, kind of thing. But we don't think. Let me back up and phrase that differently. I think the sense of the executive committee is probably that we don't want to replace the dirt 10 scale off-road with carpet, or alternate between carpet and dirt. I think we probably look at it probably more as a separate discipline, like we do carpet on road versus asphalt on road. So
that's good. So let's jump back, talk a little bit of Fast Lane Raceway. You mentioned you got the Riot going on this weekend, and we got the winter J Concepts Winter Indoor Shootout and Invitational. That's in November. What's the other race that you promote alongside Mike Garrison?
In January every year we do Offroad Jam, which is I'm going to call it conventional 10 scale indoor dirt race with a few a few wrinkles that are certainly not unique, a dash for cash and some things like that. Mike tries every year to dream up something a little different to make the event interesting. I mean, one year we did the dash for cash for the top qualifiers in mod 4-wheel drive, and after they brought their cars out and got them ready for the dash for cash, we told them to put their radios down and pull their cars off, and we handed them slashes and made them run the dash for cash with our house slashes instead of their own cars. Just
that's kind of cool.
Just to trip them up a little bit, kind of thing. So Mike is always kind of looking for something to make the show a little bit different. And then that'll be we haven't picked the date yet. This, like, normally by now we have, but this the whole as you and I talked in for the J Concepts race here in November, it's the whole situation with the virus is makes this all a little difficult to plan, but we're not in as bad a shape as some other industries. So,
yes. Speaking of the business in general, what is it? What is it like having the hobby shop right now? And I know, obviously you got a bunch of tracks, you have a lot of race equipment, but then also, I'm sure you deal with the hobby end of things a little bit as well. What's things been like for you throughout this year, and being in the hobby business?
Well, this year's been obviously unique, as it has been for everybody. We lost 2 full months of race activity, and that obviously puts a big hole in the finances. Strange thing kind of was when we were allowed to reopen, racers kind of trickled back, and there's still some people holding back that I think aren't racing, that are not going out in public as much as they have in the past. But what we lovingly call the basher side of the business exploded when we came back. We could not keep Traxxas vehicles and ARMA vehicles and ECX vehicles, those type of basher vehicles in stock. And we probably had the best June in terms of retail sales in our history this June because of that. Now, the downside to that was, by the second week in July, none of the manufacturers had anything in stock to sell us, for us to sell to the customers who were still coming in looking to buy things, because they were all caught kind of off guard by the demand. And I assume it's that driving an RC car in your backyard or a skate park or somewhere outdoors is something you can still do. So a lot of people jumped in to it during that time. Unfortunately, of course, kids are going back to school because they were all off during this, and life is getting a little bit more back to normal. The manufacturers are now kind of caught up, and stock is better, but it seems the demand has tapered off just as they're able to get us material. So it's been interesting, a bit of a challenge. So
Yeah. And do you see things kind of moving along a little differently as we kind of try to somehow get to the end of the road with this COVID? Or do you think it's going to change racing at all, or change the way we do these indoor events?
I don't know. We have sneeze shields on our driver's stand to separate the driver spaces. We're in the process completely reconfiguring our pits and going to actual kind of 4-foot, I'm going to call them workstations with sneeze shields on either side, so that we can tell our racers that while you're in your workspace, you don't have to wear a mask, but if you get up and move around in common areas, then you should wear a mask, and some things like that. I'd like to think that's not going to be permanent.
Yeah.
Unless it turns out that everybody loves the idea of these work spaces and work cubicles, in which case then they'll stay. But it cuts down our capacity, because at a typical big race event, you don't stay 6 foot apart from everyone.
Yeah.
You're kind of shoulder to shoulder. So we're looking this season at probably still having to limit the number of people in attendance, and hopefully as a vaccine is developed, or better treatments are developed, things are happening every day on those fronts, that we'll get back a little closer to normal. So
Is there a worry like that you hold like let's say Roar Nationals, and somebody says, "Oh, I got the virus from the Roar Nationals." Is there anything there to that, like a worry, liability sort of thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will tell you that as we discussed various options and trying to hold different nationals this year, we frequently went, well, imagine Facebook, Roar gave me COVID. Everybody,
Yeah.
already likes to bitch about Roar. So imagine if there was an outbreak at a Roar event. And we've asked and haven't been able to get a definitive answer from the insurance company as to what happens.
Yeah, that's
and because they're not sure, sort of thing. We've had 2 scares here at our facility where we were wondering whether we were going to have to close down and tell everybody who'd been here recently to quarantine for 14 days.
wow.
But luckily, in both cases, it was, well, in one case, it was kind of a false alarm. In the other case, we were able to, the person who might have been exposed, we were able to kind of, we're able to isolate them before they had contact with anybody else here, and it turned out that they tested negative, so then we were okay. But sure, it's, we're a litigious society, and it's an area that's untested. But I'd be shocked if there aren't lawsuits over somebody getting the virus in a public area, and then somebody complaining that where they caught it weren't following proper protocols. We tell people, like, I don't like wearing a mask. I don't like the sneeze shields and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if I don't, as a business person, if you don't at least do what's recommended to prevent the transmission of the disease, you're really opening yourself up for liability.
Yeah.
You gotta at least do the things that the experts say need to be done, so that you can come back and say, look, I took every reasonable precaution. And therefore, the individual, bears responsibility as much or more than I do, because we took all the proper precautions. So
yeah. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I mean, I guess they could say, "Oh, I got it there," but how are they going to prove it too? So
That
I don't know.
well,
But,
and I mean that's going to be, I think, the most difficult part for those who want to try to bring a lawsuit on it. Although with contact tracing being done, they're
yeah,
doing a fairly good job of coming back to this choir practice or this church service or this birthday party. So
yeah, it's true.
so I suspect that they might. I mean, I'm bemused by the people who are worried that I've got friends who think the coin shortage is a way to force us all to use credit cards and stuff so that they can track us. But these people are on their phone all the time doing Facebook and whatever. You're already being tracked. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't need to know your payments to know where you're at. You're already being tracked. So,
Yep.
I always say that if I'm, the tracking that's being done for me, they're like, man, this guy is just all about this RC stuff. Like, I don't know if this is, I think we're going to move on. They're going to move on.
You ever leave home?
Yeah, so somebody looks at where I've been, they're gonna say, doesn't this guy have a real life? I mean,
yeah.
If they look at me, they'll be like, man, this guy does nothing. All right. Well, I was wondering about that, so that's good stuff there. Justin Doyle asked, how much does ROAR communicate with the car, motor, and battery vendors?
Well, car, motor, and battery vendors are approval items. So we're in rather frequent contact with them, and when we make in the majority of cases, if we're looking at rule changes there, like the biggest recent one was a couple years ago when we introduced resistance on spec motors. That's all communicated to them in advance. That okay, here's our proposal, here's what we're thinking about doing, and they're given an opportunity to respond. So, and of course, we get suggestions fairly often from racers and manufacturers on rules and things of that nature. So,
okay,
hope that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, sure, that's good enough for Justin.
It's just Justin.
Yeah. So,
Justin's pumped.
Will Brenton says hi to you, Chuck.
Hey, hi, Will. I see you popped up there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will. Last I knew, Will was coming to the J Concepts Winter Indoor Shootout and Invitational. So.
Oh yeah, he'll be there.
We'll see him shortly.
Yep.
I hope so. I think he talked about doing several races coming up. So he's and if I'm racing on dirt, man, maybe I'll race at your track. If Will's going, I might race because then he can do my tires.
Yeah.
Will did my tires. We were at the race in Missouri this year in that smack track and was dialed.
There you go.
So
of course, if you're running the Invitational, you're going to be limited on tire prep. So.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I get in the Invitational though anymore.
Over 40.
Maybe I get in the Invitational.
There you go.
We'd have to make an exception.
I think you know somebody.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I think the times I ran it, I want to say I got 4th or 5th the first couple of years I ran. It was something like that.
Yeah.
It was it's a fun race, but man, when you start looking at those points every round, you're like, man, why is this stacking up so high?
Yeah.
Justin says, Chuck, do you have days where RC feels like the corporate world, or is it all rainbows?
Oh, it is definitely not all rainbows. I don't know if I'd say it's like the corporate world, but it is definitely not all rainbows. It's my corporate, the RC is retail, consumer retail, and my corporate life was all business to business. So it is dramatically different. And while I'm used to demanding customers from the corporate world, it's not the same as when the guy's standing across the counter from you, making a reasonable or unreasonable demand. So, but the advantage of this compared to the corporate world is fundamentally we're doing something that's fun, and the satisfaction in running the business comes from looking out on those days when you've got a decent sized crowd of people enjoying themselves, and you hear laughter and see lots of smiles and people high-fiving each other occasionally, having a good time, that you're providing the venue, the opportunity for them to have that enjoyment. And that's fulfilling in a whole different way than looking at the bottom line in terms of how profitable the corporation is, or how happy your shareholders or the board of directors is, kind of thing. So
the boys on the board.
Boys on the board.
Yeah. So it's and the feedback loop is a lot shorter in this kind of a world. I mean, if you know when a racer has a bad race, you hear about it pretty much immediately. So it's completely different. But it's not all rainbows, but there's a tremendous amount of satisfaction from it. So and I tend to think of myself as kind of at least somewhat of a people person, and so the socialization and the interaction with folks is good. But,
we ran a dirt oval race a couple months ago, and it wasn't far, about an hour, 15 minutes away. And I kind of saw that with the owner there. It was his property. He had a dirt oval race, and you could see he was just so proud of the people there, that he was able to, people were set up, they're having a good time, and man, you could see he was really affected by it.
Yeah. No, most track owners is they're not getting rich financially doing it, but they may be richly rewarded in terms of the satisfaction they get out of watching people enjoy something they've built. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's let Chuck run down the list of the upcoming events he has, and if he wants to thank anybody or the people specifically, go ahead and do that, and where they can find you on social media and that type of thing.
Well, we're at Fast Lane Raceway on Facebook. Is the easiest place to find us. We've got a Facebook page. We have a Facebook group that we moderate, but the guys that frequent our track share ideas and thoughts and do some swap and sell stuff as well. We're in Blue Springs, Missouri, which is a suburb of Kansas City. And I guess I'll put in a plug for this weekend. We're running the 2020 Offroad Riot, co-promoted with Mike and Brittany Garrison, Boom RC. I can't say enough about Mike and Brittany in terms of they're great to work with, and they put on great events. And if you have not heard Mike announce a race, you need to listen sometime to Mike announce a race. I cannot imagine how he can do a whole weekend's worth of racing. I would lose my voice and be worn out after 2 heats of his announcing. And then coming up, I don't have the dates in front of me, but the second weekend in November, our 10th annual J Concepts Winter Indoor Shootout and Invitational. We've started out sending out the invites to the invitational drivers. We're about 2/3 of the way through the field. I hope to finish that up probably next week after we're done this weekend. And then date to be determined, our January Jam, again with Mike and Brittany Garrison, is always a good time indoors. So those are the big events here on the horizon at Fast Lane. We have a weekly racing program, Wednesday night and Saturday off-road racing, Thursday night carpet oval, and Sunday on-road carpet. So plenty of opportunities for people to enjoy the racing side of the hobby with us. So
good. And I don't know if there's anyone else give a
well,
shout out.
I want to give a shout out to you, Jason. Obviously, I want to thank you and Gotti for the invitation to be on the podcast tonight. But
Yeah.
To have your support for 10 years for this race has been a great deal to us. I think your support of our early events when we were fresh was a large part of us being viewed as being a legitimate kind of RC track. And you started this with I won't go through the whole history, but with Steve Hale, who was working with us at one point for the first year, and then stuck with us when Steve retired from the hobby, and I took over and wasn't really sure about off-road and what we were doing, but we really appreciate you sticking with us for these 10 years. So
Absolutely. It's been fun. I know I've done the event a couple times. JR did the event a couple times. Thomas has been a couple times. Maybe even John went a couple times.
Oh,
So
John, yep.
we've had several guys enjoy going, and everyone's always comes back, and they always like it. They have a good time.
Good. We hope we can continue that. So we hope all the racers that come feel the same way. So.
All right, Chuck. Well, we appreciate it, and check out that Riot this weekend, and then look forward to the upcoming event in November and January. So thanks again, Chuck, and appreciate all your time with Roar too. I know it's not easy.
All right. Well, thanks, and I appreciate Roar appreciates the support that you and the other manufacturers show us as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, appreciate it. We'll see you. Take care, Chuck.
Right. Do you cut me off, or do I cut me?
There we go. Oh, he cut himself off. Awesome. My New England Patriots are heading over there to Kansas City.
Ooh, already?
Yep.
Good. So you're gonna get a little Mahomes. He's gonna tear you guys up, or what?
I guess so. Oh man. Anyway,
what is it? $500 million man? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Has a kid on the way though. Maybe he'll be distracted a little bit.
Yeah, you hope.
Justin Jubert was able to go to bed early because the Kansas City Chiefs beat up on his Baltimore Ravens the other night, and I think we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I won't be going to bed early. Anyway, awesome interview with Chuck.
Yeah, just obviously super experienced now in RC. Engineer, worked at Ford, got into the supply side, brakes. Pretty awesome that we have a guy like this in RC.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So what did you attend an event? Talk to us about the event that or no, maybe we already talked about that.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit.
Yeah. I was actually thinking of the Halloween event.
Oh, the Halloween race coming up at LCRC.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about heading down there, on a Sunday to watch the mains.
Mm-hmm. Now that you're addicted to nitro.
What's that?
Now that you're addicted to nitro.
Well, I've always been addicted to nitro, but yeah. I was like, you know what? I should get out of the house here and make it to some of these races. It's only an hour down the road, right?
It's great.
So as long as it's not too cold out, because man, like right now it's like 45 degrees out. So not during the day though. During the day it's like 60, but
get those sweatshirts going.
Those guys going to that race. I mean, it was cold here. They had that race against cancer, and at night it was pretty cold. Remember seeing some photos of ice on the windshield in the morning
already.
Yeah, and should be interesting in 2 weeks. I might go to that to watch the mains.
Dress up while you're out there because it's
dress up for Halloween, right? What should you got to come up with an outfit? I'm gonna go with Jason Rona. I'm gonna get my J Concept shirt on, a pair of jeans, some glasses.
Yeah, you could do that. Or be that I could picture you doing that shower curtain costume from the Karate Kid. You know what I'm talking about? Where he walks in that party and he's wearing the shower curtain.
Oh man, I don't know.
I knew that was you, LaRusso.
We did have people mention that we should be dressing up for the show around Halloween.
Hey, you know what? It might not be a bad idea. I'm trying to think what
Justin says you were signing paychecks over there earlier.
No. I got some more artwork going, like the what was it, the blue? What was the blue stones? They never, they're still nameless, right?
I think there was a comment here about the blue stone. Yeah, they're still the football team.
Yeah, they. I was trying to draw flames earlier. Wasn't going good.
I thought you were taking some notes. Some actual.
I actually do. I have a couple notes here.
Okay. All
right. I got all this paper and I'm writing them on napkins. So.
Jason Rona, everyone.
The blue stones.
Let's see. Justin Jubert says blue stones, blue Ford Oval, and blue springs and blue jeans.
It's about the blue.
All about the blue.
All right, we'll have to write all this down. Okay, so we got, and then the guys say that if you like the Bigfoot monster truck, you're a blue blood.
Oh, okay.
So now we got blue stones. Do we got any questions other than
blue stones? No, we just got a lot of people laughing. Pete from Houston. Pete Phillips, nice track behind you, Gotti. That's the Fast Lane Raceway. In the beginning, I had El Scarfi up there.
Oh, I forgot. What was after Blue Springs? Oh, Blue Jeans.
Oh, Blue Springs and Blue Jeans. Kind of like a catchy little tune there.
Yep.
Blue
Stones, Blue Oval, Blue Springs.
Oval, Blue Springs, and Blue Jeans.
So yeah, we just we had a couple giveaway items and just sent some stuff over on my one Facebook page. We did over my 2 favorite movies, and Kurt Winger and Pete Phillips actually guessed one each. So we kind of split the prizes, and then I ended up getting out another body for Pete. So he's going to have some cool stuff showing up pretty soon.
Yeah.
And my number 1 favorite movie is Lone Wolf McQuade. That's my favorite movie. And then Quick Change.
Quick Change?
Mm-hmm. Bill Murray.
Lone Wolf McQuade, 1983.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Now, I like these. I like that movie because I liked it when I was a kid. And it's not the greatest movie. I mean, it's not like, some award-winning but I just always liked it, so I just always say it's my favorite. But and then that Quick Change movie, I was kind of makes me laugh, so that's good.
JJ McQuaid is a former Marine and Texas Ranger who prefers to work alone and carries a large 44 Magnum revolver for a duty sidearm. He lives in an old, rundown house in the middle of nowhere with a pet wolf. That sounds like you, Jay.
Yeah. So, yeah, JJ McQuaid, Texas Ranger. You can actually go on YouTube and watch like the first 10 or 15 minutes of that movie where they got a good soundtrack in that movie. I think it was somewhat of a famous guy created the soundtrack for that movie. And there's a lot of whistling at the beginning of that movie. They show the wolf in a lot of scenes. And then Chuck Norris is eventually on top of a mountain looking over a group of criminals, I guess, that are stealing horses. So he's watching this go down, trying to determine what he's going to do. And as the Texas Ranger, so he's watching this whole thing go down, trying to determine what to do. Then the cops kind of, like the state police, move in. They helicopter in, and all of a sudden they think they're going to arrest all these guys, and they just mow down all the criminals, just mow down the state police. And he's watching this going, all right, now what am I going to do? So that's like the first 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, that's him there. The badass of badasses.
God damn.
Yeah, that's actually from the top where he's watching the stuff go down, the horse stealing. And this is, yeah, so this movie was, like you said, came out in 1983, and then he later did that Walker, Texas Ranger, which was a television show.
Jason,
and I think
a cowboy hat like that.
I have one.
That's what you can do for Halloween show. You can wear a cowboy hat.
I could just dress up like him.
Yeah, get that shirt. Make sure you throw some dirt on it, and you already have the jeans. You're all set.
Yeah, just the gun. Should I go out with the gun, or probably not a good idea?
Yeah, sure.
Probably not a good idea. Probably not a good idea.
All right.
I bought a cowboy hat at the Silver State last year, Silver State Nitro Challenge.
Oh, really?
Because they were having like a horse event or rodeo or something there. So I already have a cowboy hat, but
well, right there's your outfit for Halloween show.
Yeah, so first 10, 15 minutes of this movie, pretty cool.
John Bolton says Chuck Norris is not afraid of COVID. COVID is afraid of Chuck Norris.
It's true. It's actually true.
Oh, yes. You need to do this for your outfit, Jason. Draw on a beard. You need to do it. We already got you. Got to show up for this for that episode in costume with the beard.
What it would be even more fun is to be able to polish. What would be fun is even be in character. I'd like to be able to be in character too.
We got to do this. Oh, we got an RC question here. Do you think we'll have a repeat winners at Masters of Dirt? Dakota.
Well, I think we got Dakota, who's coming again this year. Last year, I think the main competition was Dustin Evans. He had won the Masters stuff last year. I think Dakota's probably the favorite, but Spencer's coming this year, and I think that Spencer's going to provide some definite competition to Dakota. So this is going to be I think it's going to be a little bit bigger of a competition maybe than it has ever been to win that whole collection of classes. I'd be interested to see if Spencer's got his stadium truck ready, because I know he's going to have to run stadium truck to do it. That's the final fight right there, by the way. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think Dakota's just going to come in and sweep all 3 classes this time, especially with a single main situation. I think someone might be able to get a main or 2 from them, and then that's going to come down to how you do in all the other classes to see if you can win that Masters overall. AJ, he's going to be tough to be beat in those 3 classes, I think, especially because he's using my stadium truck.
Oh,
No, that thing's never been run before. But AJ is going to be hard to beat in those classes. He's really good there at that track. He's always won something, it seems like. He's going to be tough in that.
let's get back to this movie.
Yeah, that's the final fight right there. Chuck Norris and David Carradine.
Justin says, didn't know Spencer is coming. That's huge. Speaking of, I got to get with Spencer here. We're doing our football podcast.
Yeah. Time to get the show on the road there.
For the Thursday night game. So, yeah, Spencer showing up.
Yeah, it is huge. And actually, so Spencer, I think Dustin's coming, and I think Brent's actually going.
Oh, wow. Stacked.
Paul's going to go with J Concepts. He's either going with AJ or Julian or both. I'm going to our carpet national race in Minnesota. So otherwise I would be there too, but I'm going to do our event, and I'm going to race. I'm going to race our carpet race in Minnesota.
Nice.
Do some 40 plus, see what I can do there. I need to see if I need to try to win a 40 plus class at this carpet race. I think I can do it. I need to get a little bit of practice. If I get a little bit of practice in.
Practice?
Yep.
Come on, man.
My camera froze.
Are we talking about practice? Oh, you did freeze. I like it, though. It's like, that's on your end, brother.
The old internet.
Take that movie off the screen, Gotti. We're on a good roll here with RC. Come on. This is Lone Wolf McQuaid pod.
I say Wolf McQuaid pod. We could start another podcast.
Jason froze. This is great. I like that.
Can I click out of it and then go back?
Yeah, you could try.
Stop.
Can remove you here. All right, I'll put RC back up for you, Justin.
Uh-oh.
I wonder if that's that issue I had that I'm talking to them about.
Now it's affecting my side, not your side.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh well. Episode 220. It was awesome. Thanks. Big thanks to Chuck for joining us. That was great.
Kleinhagen.
Yeah, I'm not gonna Kleinhagen.
Yeah, right. It's really not that difficult, but
looks difficult, but yeah.
Yeah.
Jason went dark. Love it. Put Masters of Dirt up.
Oh. Put Masters of Dirt up. You know what? It's going to be a solid race. Super solid.
Jason forgot to pay the electric bill. We got a comment here. Oh, maybe. It's funny. All right, 220. What do we got going on this week? And I think Jason disappeared. Jason, you there?
I'm here.
All right, there we go.
We've been wrenching. We got a couple events coming up. I got 5 or 6 new press releases here. We got to get going, get out on the market. and just a lot of new products we're working on and hitting these race events. We got a lot of, you know what this is? This is like LeBron James playoff mode, right? Because he doesn't. He goes. What is it? Silent.
Goes dark. Yep.
Dark. What is it called? Dark. Silent dark 30. What, I forget what it is.
0 dark 30.
It's 0 dark 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's playoff mode. That's me getting ready for the monster truck race coming up in October and the over 40 carpet race in Minnesota. I'm going full LeBron James playoff mode.
I was going to say to you about that. LeBron James. Oh, Lakers dominating the Heat yesterday.
This is another title for you guys.
Yep, 17 incoming. Jason, maybe it's not new. Jason got a new computer.
Yep.
New monitor. It's all set. And he went.
The BenQ. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yep.
BenQ.
All right. So what do we got going on this weekend, Jason?
I'm going to be working. If there's maybe a race to go to or something somewhere, or some practice, I don't know. Maybe Paul and I will get together, be able to go somewhere and run, or I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Nothing that I'm traveling to out of the area. So I'm here for a couple weeks.
Nice. And that means we'll be heading into episode 221.
Yeah, next week. I've already talked to some other people, getting some feelers out there for upcoming people to be on the podcast. Look at Chuck in the background.
I'm trying to do some different things here, but that's definitely on your end. Well, I'm going to have to check this movie out then. Is it on Netflix?
I don't know. You can go on YouTube and watch. You can at least watch the beginning. Let me see if I can even give you the link.
JB says 40. 0 dark 40. No, it's 30.
Yeah.
Unless she's referring to the 40 plus class.
Oh, look at her thinking outside the box. That's actually pretty clever.
0 dark 40. Jason's almost 50 though, so.
Oh, no.
You're a lot closer than I am.
No. You're older than me. You can rent it on YouTube. No, it's free. Or no, that's free for me because I'm a.
Oh, I'm premium. I'm premium.
All right, you can go on here. It's free.
Yeah, you convinced me to go premium, and then I tried it out, and it's awesome.
I like it.
Yeah, no ads and all that, surveys and stuff like that.
This is so cool.
And actually, it works good when we're sharing. If we do the screen sharing with the races and stuff, I don't have to wait for an ad to pop up on some things. Yeah. So.
Yeah, they have the whole movie on here. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll fast forward. Hey, you're back there for a second. You're back now.
Look at that.
There you go.
You have to change my name.
You must. Yeah, I'll have to.
So if you want to watch, my bad. If you want to watch this, Lone Wolf McQuaid.
How many national titles do you have, Jason?
None.
For real?
Roar? I have no Roar national titles.
What?
Oh.
All right, so here we'll just what I'm gonna do, right? There you go.
0XL. That's me. You know.
Hey, 96 Nats. You came that close, bro. That close.
Here's what I say.
Okay. What do you say? What's your response to the 0 national titles?
It's I had,
I mean, I have 0 too.
well,
Surprising.
yeah. I had to race Brian Kinwald. That was the problem. I tell you right there. I am the RC version of Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Carl Malone, Patrick Ewing, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, Clyde Drexler. No, he got one with Houston. But anyway,
Did good there.
yeah, I mean, I'm the RC version of those guys because every time when I was at my best, Mark Pavitas or Brian Kinwald was better than I was. You can actually include maybe Greg Hodap in that too. He did really good during that time frame. But that was a really good era. But yeah, the best I ever did was at the Roar Nationals was second. I got second in 2-wheel, second in 4-wheel, second in, did I get second in mod truck? I don't know.
Oh, Justin Doyle says Cam Newton.
Mhm.
All right, Justin, get out of here. I wish I could boot people out of here.
I've had people ask, did you ever win the Worlds? It's like, no, but I was standing next to Brian Kinwald when he did.
What's the highest you finish at the World?
7th.
Okay.
I qualified 4th, was the highest I ever qualified, and I finished 7th.
All right.
I broke in one of the mains. I think the first, probably the, I'm trying to think I think the best I felt was probably the either the 97 or the 99 Worlds. Those are probably where I felt the quickest. And at 97 Worlds, I broke in the first main. But yeah, it would have. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like just to get in the top 5 at something like that is big.
Yeah.
Even when I was racing and I'd look at the qualifying order, and it's strange because I never considered myself, being at the level
in that tier.
At the level of a Kinwald or a Mark Pavitas, but I was at that Worlds in Finland in 1999, and it was like, okay, Mark was TQ, Brian was second, Masami was third, and I was fourth.
Damn.
So it's like, I don't know. I think I was
quite an accomplishment.
What is it called when you're out something your coverage? What is it? Like I out what do they call it?
Jamie, you want to help us out on this one? I'm trying to mess Spencer here. Tell him we're
when a guy will say that he overachieves or he gets a girl that's way better looking than him and
way better looking than him. Yeah.
So
out of his league.
Out of your league.
Out of your league.
I wasn't out of my league, but I mean, clearly those 3 guys are 3. I mean, on the list that I made, they're 3 of the top 11 drivers of all time. So it's like, I mean, if you figure out that, that's an amazing list. I mean, you're talking about like, it's like if you're in the NBA or you're a basketball player, it's like oh, okay, you got the 3 positions here is like, oh, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and then you got like, me, No,
dark horse.
No, it was those. I wouldn't trade those the World's experiences I had for any wins for sure. I mean, if I had to weigh them, those were the best experiences I had, because there's nothing like racing in the same race as Masami and these guys, the top Americans, the top international drivers, all at the same time. There's nothing like racing with everybody at the same time. So
I don't know. I never experienced that.
Yeah, when you're on the driver's stand and you see Masami going through like his pregame routine of like stretch, he's like he was the guy stretching, and yeah, like he would stretch, and I'm like, I'm in the same race with this guy.
Were you just like looking at him like, man, what are you doing?
Well, you'd seen him do it before,
yeah.
Or I had.
Was he on the driver's stand stretching?
Yeah, and sometimes he'd do it behind the driver's stand, and
were you like, something I should be doing?
You're like, what's up with my routine?
I like Paul Lemieux's routine. Eat a Big Mac before the main. He says good greasy food in his stomach calms his nerves. So that's quite the opposite of what Masami was doing.
I don't remember.
Corey Jordan says, what about Corey Jordan? He's a bad man.
Yeah, he's got the right name for sure.
Oh. Should be Corey Bryant.
Oh, brother.
Jordan.
So, what were we talking about? Oh, being nervous up there. Yeah. To me, the most nervous I think that I would ever be in racing is when you were at a big race in a situation where it was only one run that counted to make the main. So it wasn't like IFMAR points or any of that type of thing. And where you knew this was the only shot you had, and you were on a good run, and you're like a minute to go. And I always felt like that was probably the most nerve-wracking, is finishing off something that you got one shot at. And then TQing races that you think, or that people think you should win, I guess you could say, like if they're local or regionals, or I think sometimes finishing off those races are a little more nerve-wracking. I wasn't really all that nervous racing in the world's mains because I wasn't the guy sitting on TQ that had everything to lose, but the thing that was always uncomfortable is the countdown they would do, the computer system, and where you get your car gridded, and then like at a normal race you get your car gridded, and then everybody just goes, okay, less than 5, go. But at this type of race where they have a countdown, and it beeps and it goes 10, 9, 8, 7, and it just feels like it's taking forever. And you're like kind of like positioned to race, and you're getting like kind of into it, you're getting like a little nervous, and then the 10 starts, 10, 9, and you're like, this is taking forever. And by the time they get to 1, you're like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. And yeah, so I couldn't. The stuff these guys go through that do TQ the events and have to start from the pole at the Worlds and go through all that, and they're the badasses for sure.
Jason says, was Gotti nervous in the P main? I was nervous because, yeah, it was nerve-wracking. Trinity Speedworks race, and all the big wigs were around the track. Well, they weren't exactly watching the P main, but I didn't want to upset Joel Johnson.
Yeah, you got his setup. He hooked you up.
He worked on my car before the main, and I didn't want to disappoint him.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I was nervous, and I had my Magic Motorsports shirt on too in the P main. I mean, it was probably embarrassing the hell out of Trinity and Joel, but I did win it, so there you go. And it was a full field. There was 10 cars in there. Nobody went home early.
Yeah.
They stayed. They
Yeah,
stay.
they're like, I'm gonna run this P main out, and you won it.
To be fair, that was like one of my first oval races, so don't rag on me too much there. Michael Jordan going NASCAR racing. How about that, Jason? You gotta make this quick because Spencer is waiting for me.
Oh, honestly, I haven't read anything about it. It's probably a bad decision. Maybe he has money
He's
that
got
he needs,
tons
and
of
he's got money that he has to spend, I guess. But I can't imagine that being. I can't imagine him making money doing that. That's got to be just some extra expenses. And the way that guy likes to win, he's gonna end up dumping a lot of money into that, I would imagine.
Yeah.
The problem that he's had is assembling winning things. He has been a good winner on his own over time, but he's had trouble putting together winning things. So it'll be interesting to see if he can be a winner.
Yeah.
I did see one in some fishing tournament. What was that, a couple months ago?
What?
Yeah, he had like a fishing team, and he was like, there's this picture of him on social media with this monster, fish. Like, I mean, it's in so
So he has a fishing team?
Yeah, it was like it was a big fishing tournament. It was like a one of those, I just call it deep sea fishing. I don't know what it's called, but I mean, look it up. It's him with this monster fish.
I know.
Maybe it's not even. Is this
take down my Wagon Hill hobbies? That's Jason. That's where the 96 Nats, of course.
I blew a 1-0 lead over Kinwald.
Right, blew it. He could have ended that double X4.
Yeah, the double X4. If I would have won that second main, would not even existed. They would have been like, so we brought 3 custom prototype cars here, put it in the hands of Brian Kinwald, Greg Hodap, and John Anderson, and this kid
and this clown, Jason Runner.
This kid just and he doesn't even care about running 4-wheel.
Right.
That's it. That's the fish. That's the team.
What's it say there for a record?
Weight 442 pounds. Yeah, Catch 23. Look at that's the name of the boat.
Catch 23. Jordan was like, "Perfect. That's what I bet."
Everything out of that he's done outside of him playing, that's probably the most success I've seen him have.
Fishing.
He did.
John Bolin says, "You hate the ones you just miss." That haunts Jason to this day. 96.
Which one? I honestly never think about the 96 Nats racing.
Well, we make sure
we talk about it, but I never actually think about the that race part of it.
What you could have done. Wow, man. All right.
There's a couple races I think about that I wish I could do different or have a different result, but that's not one of them.
Okay.
I overachieved in that main.
Oh man. All right.
I remember like winning the race and like coming off the driver's stand and everybody's just like, what? Like they're just like, how did you win the 4-wheel main number 1 or whatever? And I'm just like,
drove it.
Yeah, it's like these guys are going to give it to me. I'll take it.
How nervous were you in the second main?
I don't think at all. Like we didn't care about 4-wheel back then. I think Reedy. Yeah, you're saying. I think Reedy just signed us up for 4-wheel because maybe it was like maybe another way to get into the invite at the Reedy race, or because if you made top 10 in 4-wheel, you get in the invite. So he would just sign us up for 4-wheel, and it's like, okay, you're gonna run 4-wheel. You're just like, oh man, all right, I'll bring.
That was a big one though because of that double X4.
Yeah, well, they didn't even know. You go in there, they wouldn't have known that they had the double X4 or the double.
So Losi surprised everybody showing up
Oh
there?
yeah, nobody
Oh,
knew
okay.
that was happening. Yeah.
All right. All right. What else you got, Jason? Where are you going this weekend? Nowhere? Staying home? Working at the shop?
Yep, both staying home, working at the shop. Maybe we'll find. I'll talk to Paul what he's going doing this weekend, club race wise, and just gonna get stuff done. Gonna keep working and pushing forward.
All right, that was episode 220. Again, big thanks to Chuck Kleinhagen.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Good job.
Joining the pod. Good episode. We'll catch you on 221 next week. Jason's still around, so we're going to pump some more out for you.
Let's do it. 221. Right. Still in the lead.
Well, we're getting some more people in here, but Bolton says, was top secret like Spencer's yet to be seen world's car?
I don't know what's Spencer's top yet to be seen world's car. Is he talking about like his car that he ran in Slovakia? I think that's what he's talking about.
Oh, that's Spencer.
Spencer's car from Slovakia actually is very. They're all associated parts, production parts. I think they matched a couple, something with the rear arms or dog bone sweep or something. There's no major anything on that car. It's all stuff that people could assemble with parts. It's definitely nothing.
So there's no photos of the.
I don't think there's any photos with the body off. There's photos with the body on, but it's well. I don't.
That's probably why people think it was like top secret stuff on.
But it wasn't like the car he won with in Japan. Now that was a very prototype, very early rear end. The rear end of that car was very prototype, but his car from Slovakia is a very stock car. And the car that was even more stock than his was Ungaro's, who damn near won. Davide Ungaro's car was pretty much whatever car we were using at the time. I don't know if it was a B6.1 or if it was a B6. I think it was a B6.1. I mean, that thing was very stock. He probably had stock turnbuckles on that thing.
Aluminum.
Aluminum turnbuckles, oiled bearings.
Oiled bearings.
Oh, Spencer can talk about this on your football podcast, but I talked to him about these bearings, the oiled versus the greased bearing situation.
Okay.
And he'll fill you in on that because I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring this up to you just because I want to say that I did. Gotti says he knows everything about these bearings.
I'm just from what I read, right?
I
know I saw it on Reddit, and I read this months ago, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing the issues pop up, and I'm like, wait a minute.
He'll explain a couple things too. You won't have to get into everything, but he it'll be funny. So
yeah, okay.
All right, we're gonna go.
All right, John Bolton says I extended the show. Yes, you did, but that's all right.
Hey, you know what? Good job.
Yeah. All right.
Watch Lone Wolf McQuaid.
What's that?
Watch Lone Wolf McQuaid.
I will do that. I'll fast forward through that. You know how I fast forward through movies. I can't sit that.
Good.
I'll look for the important scenes.
All right, I'm out of here.
All right, we'll see you we'll see you and you for episode 221 next week. See you guys.